Welcome, listeners, to another episode of Ton's Two Cents podcast. Today's episode is entitled The Evolution of Proposal Graphics in the GovCon Industry. Today, we'll explore how AI is transforming proposal graphics, the importance of oral presentations, and best practices for creating winning proposal graphics. I'm your host, Ton Wilson, and with us today is Mike Parkinson, the principal at 24 Hour Company and a leading expert in proposal graphics. Mike, thanks for joining us here today, and say hello to our listeners who we call intellectuals and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Ton. Thank you very much. Hi, intellectuals. It's so great to be here. I am a geek, probably like you. Been doing this for a long time. I believe it's 26 or 27 years just doing bids and proposals. But before that, I was doing other things that dovetail and or support what I do now. Really, that's it. If you said, "Hey, Mike, what do you do?" I'd say, I'm a geek that helps people do their jobs better. That's it. That's a summary.
I know, but that's okay, right? So I pick a mantra every year that I live by and I preach and everything like that. And my mantra this year is niche. Find your niche and niche down until it hurts, right? And so, like in a world of generalists, I think it's fantastic to have people who really know what they do it well, and make an impact on the industry. So I think that's what I really love and respect about you. And we've been working together for probably half of those 20 some years too. Can you believe that?
Easy, easy. I know, I know.
Yeah,
Time goes by as fast, but I'm not telling anybody something they don't know already.
I know exactly, right? And don't let the black hair fool you. I do color it. So I've been in here 20 plus years too. So but before we really dive into our conversation and our topic here today, which we're going to tackle a lot of different topics in this podcast, I want to kind of know a little bit more because I know you personally and I know you professionally, and we all kind of fall into this business of GovCon and what we do. I'm a trained chemist. And so, I didn't come out wanting to do GovCon. I didn't take a GovCon class or, anything like that. But what initially drew you to this field of proposal graphics?
Well, I had been doing creative design support, things like that, marketing design. And a buddy of mine said, "Hey, we have this job at a company called PRC. Can you help us out?" And I said, "Okay, sure." So I drove down to Northern Virginia and I walked in the door. And about 36 hours or so later, I walked out the door. So it was just trial by fire. I didn't know what a proposal was. So I left and I came home and I said to my wife, she goes, "How was it?" I said, "It's horrible. I never want to do whatever that was again." And then a week later, they called me back and said, "Hey, you did pretty darn good. Would you like to come back and help us again?" And I said, "Sure." And so I wound up becoming a partner at that company and haven't looked back ever since. It is my people. And what I love is all those years of doing creative support designing for other industries, for other verticals, other types of work, supported or reinforced everything that I do for bids and proposals, because bids and proposals is an ecosystem that involves more than just writing. It's more than just graphics.
Mhm.
It's more than just storytelling. It's more than just solutioning. It's all of the above. And so when anybody gets in our industry, they're going to find that they're going to flirt with or have to use those other skills, because the last thing we want to do is be in a situation where we're not growing and learning. And boy, do bids and proposals help you grow and learn every single day.
They really do push the envelope of your comfort level, right? I remember the first ones that I got involved in. I was like, I'm a fraud. I have no idea what you're talking about. And I was a great manager. I could manage a project, but holy heck, man, managing a proposal team, talk about herding cats and dogs and goats and, like everybody with multiple personalities. It's not a good proposal if someone's not crying at some point or, or if someone's not getting fired or is so upset. It's just the dynamics of how interesting everything is. And I think what's really cool about what you and I do and how we do this is that we get an opportunity to work in all industries with with companies of all different sizes. and they're all so different, but at the same time, they're all so similar at the same time too, right? I don't even know how to explain that. It's just bizarre.
Yep, they have a different vocabulary. Really, that's what it is. They have a different way of speaking, different acronyms, but ultimately, the human brain is the human brain. And when I was doing marketing work, the same approach to getting people to buy something is the same approach I used
Yes.
for learning and development. Is the same approach I use for business development. It's because it's all boiling down to human beings are human beings, and federal procurement tries to make it as objective as possible. But until human beings aren't involved in that equation, it's impossible. It's absolutely
Yeah.
impossible. So one of the things that drives me, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, is behavioral psychology. Like,
Yes.
why do evaluators pick us? What makes people want to choose us? What are the variables that cause people to not pick us? And
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about compliance. I'm talking about what are other factors that goes into it. How do people know that? How do people know who's going to win before the RFP hits the streets? What goes into that equation?
Yeah, and I don't think we've spent enough time in that. I released a podcast just the other day, and I talk about the psychology of, like, how and why we bid the way we bid. And, you can do everything right. It can be textbook, but at the end of the day, it's people who are making decisions. It's people who are bidding on work. And so you can still be the smartest person in the room and still not get the work. And you can be the most qualified and still not get the work because who knows, right? There's a lot of different factors on it. And if you and I knew, we wouldn't be doing. So, Mike, let's move into our main topic of discussion here today. I've got a couple of segments, and we're going to tackle some controversial topics. The first one we're going to tackle is the impact of AI on proposal graphics. It's a hot topic in a lot of different industries, including GovCon. And so, how is AI impacting the creation of proposal graphics from your opinion?
Well, AI is disrupting our industry in two fundamental ways. And one is that the government's trying to minimize the impact that AI has on bid creation, because the last thing they want to do is have someone have an unfair advantage. And we're still trying to understand if it is an unfair advantage to do that. It kind of is and kind of isn't, because you don't necessarily need proficiency in a topic to write as if you do have that proficiency thanks to AI. So one of the things that we're seeing the government start to do more is orals, because AI is not going to be able to jump into the presenter seat. So you're going to see a lot more orals in order to mitigate the risk that AI is giving someone information that they shouldn't have. As this initial fear subsides, the next big thing that's going to impact our industry is that AI will continue to be adopted by more proposal professionals, because what we have discovered in our industry is that AI is an accelerator or a friction fixer. It's not something that's going to replace us. There are three truths that I have come to realize after being an early adopter for AI and talking to AI theorists and people who are looking at the future of AI. And those three truths are: number one, proposal professionals who use AI will thrive. Of course, the opposite is true. Proposal professionals that
Hmm.
fail to embrace AI will not. It's a tool. AI is a tool. It's just like Adobe Photoshop. It's just like Microsoft Word. It's just like Google Slides. It's just a tool. It's like Excel. And if we don't adopt the latest technology, we will become dinosaurs, because it's an accelerator or friction fixer. The other thing is AI will always be a smart start. What I mean is that we can't go, all right, here's the RFP requirement, AI answer the question, submit it. We can't. If we do that, we're going to lose. AI is missing a key ingredient in creating proposal solutions, and that is judgment. AI, because it's not sentient, does not have that emotional intelligence. And all decision making, and I cannot stress this enough, all decision making is made emotionally and justified intellectually. I'm not going to prove it to you. Just know that all research done about how the brain works says, hey, it has to go through an emotional filter. For example, Todd, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you make it a habit of buying from people you don't trust?
No, of course
Of
not.
course not. That's an emotion. And so AI can't replicate emotion. So AI will always be a smart start. I don't mean you have to start with AI. What I mean is it's going to be part of your workflow, but a human being a human being must be involved. And the last truth that I've learned is that we must, as proposal professionals, we must learn to use the right tool. Just like I wouldn't create a spreadsheet in Microsoft Word, I'd use Excel. You wouldn't create a visual for a proposal in Midjourney. You have to learn which tool gives you what solution. If I'm creating a presentation, I'm going to use Google Slides or Microsoft PowerPoint. I'm not going to use InDesign. That's not the wisest tool to use. And so we, as proposal professionals, if we're adopting AI, we want to know which tool does what so that we can get the best results out of it. For example, this is from the graphics perspective. There are vector-based graphics and raster graphics. I feel like I'm geeking out here. Is this
No,
okay?
this is fantastic.
All right. So raster-based graphics are made up of pixels, like a photograph. Vector-based graphics are made up of math. Like when you draw a shape in PowerPoint, that's a vector-based graphic. So your Midjourney, your ChatGPT using DALL-E, your Copilot is going to primarily be a raster-based tool. When you're creating graphics for bids and proposals, it's going to primarily be a vector-based solution. So they won't work. However, Firefly, which is an Adobe tool, can be vector-based. So I did an experiment where I said, all right, I want AI to create a DevSecOps graphic. And the only reason I use a DevSecOps graphic is because it is multimodal. In the world of AI, multimodal is the new thing coming up. And what it means is there are multiple modalities that AI can interface with. It could be sound, it could be picture, it could be multiple ways of communicating information. DevSecOps, that is a narrative that's already figured out, content that's pretty much already figured out, and an aesthetic or a visual vocabulary that's already figured out. There is a standard way of doing a DevSecOps graphic. So I asked Midjourney, I asked DALL-E, which is ChatGPT 4 now. I asked Copilot, I asked Firefly, I asked Hotpot, I asked a bunch of different AI engines, some of which were trained on the internet. I said, make a DevSecOps graphic. And I was very explicit. I wanted to have this information. Some of them you can give a prompt and say, here's a visual, make a version of that. None of them even came close. It was a joke. It was not even close. So knowing the right tool is important and using AI as a smart start. Now, on the other hand, if I'm using it to create, I need a war fighter or I need a person at a dock unloading a ship and I need it to be photorealistic, of course.
It's
totally
really good at that. Yes.
Absolutely.
The people, the scenes, like the very theatrical type of, imagery. I think it's fantastic in it.
Incredible. So it's a smart start. I'm using that term loosely because you can put it anywhere in the workflow, but basically it's a smart way to get going, and then you take it and make it your own. You must customize it. And then the last thing is, this is something I learned as an entrepreneur in the BD space is, and forgive me, I'm not a fan of people who sell stuff. I'm going to say this because it was enlightening to me, and I hopefully it'll be insightful to anybody watching this and listening, is that I created a tool called Build-A-Graphic. And Build-A-Graphic, to my knowledge, is the world's only business development graphics tool. I don't know any one that on the planet where you type in DevSecOps and you get a DevSecOps graphic. So these are prefabricated, like over 10,000 vector-based graphics. Yeah, you can modify them any way you want in PowerPoint, bring them into Adobe Illustrator, Google Slides, InDesign, doesn't matter. I used AI to help me ideate, to come up with ideas. I used AI to help me come up with metadata. So my takeaway was that even if AI isn't involved on the user side, AI will and is involved on the development side. So at any point, in any touch point in our in the life cycle of proposal development, AI is, if not will be, an integral part. It is the reality, it is the future of our industry. It'll be that way. There's no way around it. Just like the Internet of Things became ubiquitous, meaning that there's more things on the internet than human beings, AI will be woven into just about everything that we do. It's going to ultimately become our assistant. It'll be your Jarvis. Good
Right.
morning, Don. How was your day? What would you like me to do for you today? Can you order me this food? Can you make a phone call? Can you set up this meeting? And we're all going to have these AI personal assistants is a potential for the future. Ultimately, it's going to be integrated into everything. I feel like I just talked a whole lot. Sorry, Ton.
No, like I said, I could talk about AI all day long too. So